Nō reira, kua waimari e tātou I tēnei rā, a ki te kōrero ki tēnei, o a tātou nei pāpā ki tēnei, kua roa nei, e tiaki ana, e aki ana, I wā tātou nei Kaimahi, I roto I te Kōhanga Reo, mea tātou whānau anō hoki. Nō reira, e te whānau mihi mai ki tēnei o a tātou nei rangatira, no roto mai o te kohu, kia ānaru, kia papa ānaru, kia Andrew Hema e te pāpā, tēnā rawa atu koe.
Kia ora koe tāhuri.
Kei te pēhea koe?
Kai te pai, tino pai la.
Ka pai. Nō reira, nā mihi nui ki a koe, mo tō whakawātea mai I a koe anō, ki te kōrero mai ki a tātai. Me te mea anō, he kōrero noi ho tēnei. E te whānau, this is just merely a discussion on what I suppose are the basic requirements, and to give us a basic understanding around vaccination, the mandate order to be vaccinated, and also the order to be tested. So, rāua tahi, ka noho, nā te kāwana tana I tuku mai, hei tiaki a tātou kia noho haumaru ai tātou. So, Papa, Andrew, can you just give us a brief explanation of where did the authority come for this vaccination order?
Well, clearly it came from the Crown, from government, and clearly it came because of a concern for the health and safety and well-being of people in clusters, big clusters, and essentially that's about keeping everyone safe, including mokopuna, Kaimahi, Whānau. We all know about the COVID and the Delta strain, so it's a response to what was happening in the community with our children, with our tamari, with our whānau, and it is a public health mandatory requirement to be vaccinated in certain designations, in certain roles and positions.
So is it safe to say, and I think people are getting their wires crossed in terms the difference between an order and the law? Basically, they're one and the same, right?
They're precisely the same, and if by way of example, if we can explain it in what we already have in Kōhanga, it's well known, well documented that in Kōhanga it's a requirement to have safety checks, police vetting. That's a mandatory requirement. For the COVID, the protection against COVID, that's a mandatory requirement as well. The vaccination, that's the reality of it. Reality is that if you want to work in Kōhanga, you have to be vaccinated.
Ka pai. And Kōhanga Reo obviously is not the only sector affected. What other areas or other sectors are required to be vaccinated?
Every sector in the education area, early childhood, kura kaupapa, mainstream, everything to do with education, where we're face to face with our mokopuna, is a requirement to be vaccinated. There are other essential areas of work that is required to be vaccinated, but by and large, for our purpose, for our business, for our mahi, it's in that education space, in that learning space, that there is a requirement to be vaccinated.
And who needs to be vaccinated?
All of us. Kei roto te whare o te Kōhanga Reo, tātou katoa. If you are Kaimahi, if you are parent, whānau, all of those that will come face to face with our mokopuna are required to be vaccinated. Contractors that periodically will do mahi inside your whare are required to be vaccinated. The golden rule, rather than to look at and try to look at bigger pictures, look at the smaller picture and the purpose. It's about keeping each other safe. Simplify it so that if somebody is going to come in contact with our whānau, require them to be vaccinated. Don't start looking at small print. Look at the bigger print. The purpose is to keep each other safe. Better to be safe than sorry. It's better to turn somebody away at the door. It might be a little bit embarrassing, but the main purpose is to keep those inside that whare safe.
Yeah, and we have mentioned that there are some conflicting rules, I suppose, around what you can and can't do, who can come into the Kōhanga Reo, who can't come into the Kōhanga Reo, and a lot of our whānau, I suppose, they're scared. Let's be honest, they're scared of COVID, and they're scared of losing their kaimahi, and they're scared of being alienated from something they love dearly. So, example, you got, and one of them, you can drop off your tamaiti, and some of our, like tamaki, it's easy for us, I tell you, because COVID is right here on our front door in our whānau. We got people I know, I love, who have died, who have affected now, and we know, drop off at the door, hide it. But in the order, you can take your baby into the Kōhanga Reo, settle them down. How long does that take? Who knows? Could be half a day. That's normal. Half a day, 1 hour tākaro, then you go, kind of thing. So those kind of things, and then in the order it says, if you're in front of the tamariki or kaimahi, you must be vaccinated. So that tuki kei reira.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's an unfortunate thing. I'm not convinced that the order actually says exactly what you described. I think that there was a comment in one of the releases from the Ministry of Education that stated that if you're not vaccinated, you could take your child into the whare and settle them down. I think that's an unfortunate slip, and I certainly hope it is, because that's a contradictory of, it's contradicting what we're really trying to do, what everybody's trying to do. I think in the case of Kōhanga, my view is that they should have an internal policy that counteracts that, so that doesn't apply. Stick to the aim. The aim is to keep people safe.
Sorry, that's our tūtohina. No, you're talking about our tūtohina?
The
policies that are in our tūtohina, you can actually just explain that part of where we get, I suppose, the uniqueness of each Kōhanga Reo to be able to determine their own health and safety policies.
Well, what we can't do is we can't put into our tūtohina that we are not going to comply with the vaccination, with the public health order. We can't do that. What we can do, though, is put a policy in place that enhances the way that we operate, so that on one hand there may have been a statement that says that a non-vaccinated parent could take their child into their mokopuna, their tamaiti, into the Kōhanga and settle them. My advice would be that within your tūtohina that you make a policy that is not to apply. That's inconsistent with the intent of keeping everybody safe. If it's good enough for our kaimahi and everybody else in face-to-face with our whānau to be vaccinated, then that should equally apply to parents who are dropping off their mokopuna, that they drop them off at the gate if they're not vaccinated, and not be permitted to take them into Kōhanga and settle them down. Koina.
And you said it, and this is how we start linking up of our mokopuna and then our whānau who may be unvaccinated, who may also create a sense of compromising, I suppose, the whole bubble of that Kōhanga Reo whānau collectively. So you can imagine the kaimahi maybe, we're all vaccinated, yet some of our whānau are not vaccinated. That creates another kaupapa that, of being anxious.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The COVID itself and the order is placing our kaupapa, tikana Māori, the way we do things, will have to change, will have to evolve in order to meet some compliance around some of that order. You know, traditionally the relationship between Kaimahi and Whānau has been ko tahi tātou. Engari, with this COVID order, it will definitely see some restrictions where Whānau who choose not to be vaccinated will not be able to enter into the kohana learning space. They will not be able to go on haidina. There are lots of things that over time we're going to have to learn how to live with them and then how to adapt so that we can get as close as possible to what we previously enjoyed. But let's make no mistake about it, it will be different.
Ka pai. And then, you know, some whānau or Kaimahi might be looking at exemptions to the mandatory order to be vaccinated, and that is allowed.
Yes.
However, what I hear, it's actually quite difficult. It's going to be quite strictly policed, I suppose, who can and who can't. Can you just give us a bit of call about that?
Yes, well, going back to your earlier statement around some of the changes that have occurred as time has gone on, exemption is one of them. Previously, people could go to their doctor and get an exemption of some kind. Just recently, that's been changed. Now, in order to get an exemption, there's a process where you can only get that through your medical doctor, qualified person, or a nurse practitioner. They will then make a recommendation back to MOH, Ministry of Health, and that's where the exemption will be decided, whether you get one or not. What we do know is that the statements we have seen, that it will be a rarity, it'll be the exception rather than the rule to get an exemption. So it won't be easy, and it does chew up time as well. So for those that had an exemption previously, as of a few days ago, those became null and void, and they will have to go through the new application process. And like I've mentioned, that takes up time, and it's obviously unlikely that those people, those Kaimahi, will be vaccinated by the 15th of November, in which case they will not be in Kōhanga on the 16th, and they would have to wait pending a decision on their exemptions. So it could take a while. So there's a little bit of planning, a little bit of consideration, and a lot of thinking for the whānau around how they will operate to maintain their ratios.
Yeah, and I suppose that that's another area of concern for a lot of our Kōhanga Reo who have Kaimahi that do not want to be vaccinated. And so those ratios aren't able to be maintained, and maybe looking at some, I would say, hopefully a short-term closure till they find other solutions. Just talk us through that for whānau, because I know etahi wā, and let's be honest, with our whānau as the employer, and I'm not saying in my pia whakatika, our whānau are the employers, that when we start to ki te taka ki tēnei taha o te kaupapa, te taha ture, we can actually be quite harsh in our reading of the law and how we subscribe to it. And for some odd reason, te aroha ki te tanata goes out the window. And we kind of, we forget to look after each other, that we have, with our Kaimahi, obviously, they've probably done one or two of your own kids or something like that. And this has come along, and we're about, what would it say, about a month out from Christmas. So, there's a lot of stress on whānau. So what, just give us maybe like a way, I suppose, that we can kind of step through this, because, we still got till January 1st. How we can step through this once we hit that November. What has to happen on November the 15th, and how can we step through this?
Kia ora. E nui tērā pātai. The big player in this about what will happen between the 15th and Christmas, it really is a decision for the whānau. You mentioned about the manaki, the Kaimahi, and all of those sorts of things. This really is a time that on the 15th, definitely there will be Kaimahi who do not want to be vaccinated, and there's a consequence to that decision, which ultimately is likely to be termination of employment. But the whānau have the discretionary authority to help the Kaimahi through the period from the 15th of November through to the 1st of January, or through at least to Christmas, particularly for those who are adamant that they're not going to be vaccinated. As you mentioned, it is a difficult time. We're only 5 or 6 weeks away from Christmas. So I suggest to whānau, my advice to whānau is give some consideration to how they may be able to ease the pain, the mamai, the anxiety for Kaimahi who are not going to be vaccinated, but are looking forward to a bleak Christmas, I guess. But you could help to manage that process by having a discussion around whether they have the finances to carry that burden through for a short period of time. That's one solution. I'm sure there are others. It's an unfortunate thing that the COVID puts a lot of pressure on employers. The Act puts a lot of pressure on employers. And in our situation in Kōhanga, it's not easy because we don't have the same management ability inside Kōhanga as the likes of Spark and all these other big companies. You know, we're very ordinary people trying to do the best for our mokopuna. And along come these sorts of challenges. It's not easy.
Yeah, and I koe nā noi ho tāku I te papa that I hope our whānau are very caring, and I know they don't want to make these decisions either. But we're compelled. We use that word a lot. We are compelled by the ture to do these things, and it does come underneath te whaioranga, te pautua whātua tātou kaupapa, but also te whaioranga wa tātou nei Kaimahi, and te whaioranga te whānau, te hapu te iwi, ko te iwi. That's kind of and just as I suppose from the comms team feeding into the senior management and the portal that's flowing between the different ministries and coming down. I suppose the tone is what we've been trying to do is to ensure that the information, because this is a bit last minute, I didn't know, how come this has come up all of a sudden, how will kōrero ki tērā whakaaro?
I personally, I think our comms have been good and been on point. It's a personal opinion, a personal view. I think sometimes they can be a little bit busy, but that's the nature of trying to ensure that everybody gets as much information as possible. But typically, it might be a bit cliche-ish, but you can take a horse to water. You can't force it to drink. In the same way, you can provide a lot of information, but there's no guarantee that people will read it. Having said that, though, I'd like to explain the process of how we get the information, and then how our comms team gets the information, and how we get it out to whānau. The process generally is that the information originally comes from the Ministry of Health. They're the ones that, by and large, have the knowledge around what is to be disseminated. Their information is then shared with the Ministry of Education, who put together their inputs along with the Ministry of Health stuff, whatever is valid and necessary. We get that information from both parties, we being our comms team, and do our best to put that together in a way that we trust and hope that our kōhanga whānau would find it beneficial. On a daily basis, I would guess that we have that information out to whānau within 2 hours of receiving it on a daily basis. I think that's fairly good. What's not understood, though, is that, I don't think it's understood clearly enough, is that information is often, we get it on a Monday, we get it out Monday night. That's how quickly things move. And we do that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the Ministry of Health publish on Saturday and Sunday. It's not like we've had a lot of time to go over these things It's not like we've had get a lot of time to understand what decisions have been made at Parliament and what feeds through to the rest of us. But in the time that we do have, I'd like to believe, and I do believe, that our team does a very, very good job of keeping Kohanga Whānau informed. As we get closer towards the 15th, 16th of November, and of course the 1st of January, I think that our comms probably need to be a little bit more directed to our mahi kei roto te whare, rather than generalising about the stats in various parts of the motu. Koina.
Tapa, tēnā koe papa, and I suppose it's funny that we're here preaching to ourselves. Engari, I suppose when we look at the from the comms point of view, is that when we look at the high rates of cases, you know, this whole kaupapa started with one, the whole country went into lockdown. Now we're up into the 148, 100, you know, we're hitting 200s, and the levels are coming down. And to us as a comms team, I suppose that's the scariest thing. Hauna no te Kōhanga Reo. Hauna no te Kōhanga Reo. When this taniwha of tāmaki makaurau, ka tukuna nā waka kia hoki ki o rātou kaina, that's where I fear for our whānau and our people. So the ture or the tikanga is not going to take care of people leaving tāmaki and COVID. What's going to take care of each other is our aroha for each other. Our care to not be in a rush to go and see our nani and go over there to taria te wā, to kind of be mindful about who we spend our time with and where we go. So koina te, I suppose, why the stats are important, because it's different each rohe. Wai painami, you know, why are we not, we don't need to be level 2. Let's, you know, drop it down. Next minute, I put on my, a case up i te tauihu and a case in Waitaha. Taranaki, no cases today, there was cases. So, you know, he ma te mōrearea tēnei, he nānara tēnei e huri haere ana I wainanui a tātou. And ki te huri tuara tātou ki aia, ka peke ia ki runa i a koe. So it's very difficult, I suppose. And I'm just saying from my point of view, te papa, to not take that into consideration and the alert levels that everyone is sitting in. Because I suppose as a national movement, we've got to take care of everyone. And those alert levels are certainly confusing. Alert level 3 testing mandated, alert level 2 not mandated, some traffic lights in 9A, some DHB 90% corduroy 9A. I mean, from your point of view, that also must be quite a challenge to make sense of.
Tika tonu. I think challenge is probably a too soft a word. Frustrating is probably a better word. It's bad enough, the level 1s through to 4, and then when the traffic system was put in, the traffic light system put in, it's even more confusing. I may get into trouble for this, but my advice to whānau is, by and large, for our kaupapa, ignore the traffic lights. If you happen to be in level 3, that's what we're familiar with. We know what we have to do in level 3. Do what we know. The traffic lights, in my view, while it has a little part for us in terms of increasing the bubble, by and large, it's in my view, it's targeted at businesses being able to open, and you know, perhaps obviously that's a good thing for business. Allows people to get out and do a little bit more, but from a Kohanga Whānau point of view, understanding the alert levels, keep it simple. Keep it simple. It's 1, 2, 3, and what you can do in those bubbles. Those are things in those alerts, rather. Those are things we're familiar with. Level 3, step 2, and all this sort of stuff. You know, even very clever people have difficulty with those traffic lights.
Kapai, it's just basic horoi orina. Even the social distance. Make it is actually, and that's what we want to promote. Bueno papa, e mihi nui ana kia koe. E mihi nui ana kia koe mo ene kōrero, I te painamu nei, hei whai māua tātou nei whānau. I suppose the last question is, should our whānau and Kaimahi need support? This is probably where they would like to know. Where do I go to? Who can I talk to if we need support? I know we've got, you've been around to some of the rohe, and given kōrero to our kohana reo whānau. What's the best place or avenue that they can reach out to get support and tautoko?
The best place, the initial best place is at your local tari. The tari within your rohe is the best place. I know that all of our district managers in the rohe are working really hard with their team to try to keep in contact, to try to give as much information as they can, designed to help as much as they can. I also know that, they can always contact me by way of email. I'm hopeless at, if you ring me up and you leave me a message, I'm very hopeless at responding to that message. I am very reliable if you email me. That's the best place to, if you're looking for support, those are the contacts. Your local rohe tari, and then if you need to, come to me and I'll do my best to try to help.
Tēnā rawa te koe te pāpā, mihi nui ana ki a koe. E mihi ana ki nā mahi me nā tau, ko ti a koe, nā tau pahure nei, he nui nā kaupapa, ko kawe e koe ki nai o Pakihiwi, a te teaki anō I wā tātou nei Kaimahi, a te noho tonu ki tō tātou nei kaupapa, me nā mahi, e mahi e nei e koe, a me te mōhio, he nui tonu o mahi kau mua I tō aroaro. Nō reira, haere tonu I runa I te whakaaro pai, te whakaaro rangatira ki tō tātou nei kaupapa, a kia noho haumaru, a kia noho ora. Tēnā rawa te koe.
Mā koe hoki tāhui, tēnā koe ha. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Nō reire, te iwi koe rā tō tātou nei rangatira, tō tātou nei mātana mō nā mahi, ki te taha o tikana o te ture mō a tātou Kaimahi, e mihi nui ana ki a tātou. Kia ora tātou.